Greetings, everyone. Sadeghi here. While many of you who have been following the channel may know me for my leadership in Team Alchemy, I have an extensive background as an integrative business attorney, having worked with spiritual entrepreneurs, visionary leaders, and conscious business owners and their teams in bringing about their vision into reality, as well as helping them grow their businesses. I've been doing this for almost 15 years all over the globe, studied and trained internationally, and I'm all about supporting these leaders and making an impact for the collective good. I'm also a founder myself for almost 2 decades, so I walk the walk, as I say, having learned the many growing pains and ways to sustainably expand my leadership power and impact. My intention for this two-part series is to share the journey that you take from the inception of this soul calling or tapping into your true vision or mission, and then translating that into a business that's sustainable. And it's about bringing about practical tools and wisdoms. And we're going to say it the way lawyers say it, from soup to nuts, or all the nuts and bolts that you need. If you feel you're more established in your journey as opposed to getting started out, you may want to focus on the second video, which is all about the proactive measures to expand and scale. As always, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Make sure you have the notifications on to get notified of all the latest updates of recordings and tools and lives. Feel free to share this with other leaders that may benefit from learning about this spiritual entrepreneurship journey, and make sure you check out the many resources that are available on this channel if you're new. You can also find more of what I call business wizardry through my LinkedIn channel. Make sure you follow me there too, and all these goodies and links are available in the links in the description of these videos below. So why do we even care about this? Why is this important? Many right now are shifting their new paradigm understandings, the Great Resignation, the highest entrepreneurship increase in generations. If you feel it doesn't matter to you, everybody in the spiritual community and this visionary community wants to see change, this proverbial heaven on earth, making this higher, greater consciousness a reality, or five-dimensional consciousness, and so on and so forth. And really, many may be financially scared or indebted to the system, and that's all good wherever you're at on this journey. So this is not meant to put anybody down. It's meant to be the real insider knowledge that you will need to get your proverbial shit together and really do your part. It's going to take a village, and I'm all about bringing us together and equipping leaders. Each of us are going to come together and form different alliances and teams. So the core of the why is about bringing together soul and impact, two things that are oftentimes kept apart, weaving it together. And I like to really start us off on that tone of this why with a quote by Paramahansa Yogananda. Have your mind with God and be able to chatter amongst the people. So in a way, what I mean by that, and use that to kind of wrap up this initial intro and why and the landscape that we're dealing with in terms of this journey that I invite each of you to take wherever you're at, is to really bring together soul and business, and not to feel torn anymore, and be able to bring your 9 to 5 and your soul calling together. So let's dive in. Where do you begin? This journey really doesn't begin on the outside. You can start by going to a business coach or consultant, and any good consultant or coach will tell you it all starts within. And before all that, really deep transformation needs to take. Using a gardening analogy, before we really can plant the seeds for a new soul calling or vision, we need to be able to still and till. Take the moment to pause, begin clearing out the old, let's say, vestiges of who we were, and all the limiting beliefs and all the traumas and all the deep healing, the transformational alchemy process, and really till that proverbial soil. We cannot really dial in or tune in to our soul's calling, which is going to be the goal of this first video, until we have a clear, a very still biofield. And to sum that up, this notion of still until, this inner work, if you're a naysayer, will bring outer flow. So you do this inner work, you prepare yourself, and then really you can get started. So you have to understand, if you're new to any of this and you would consider yourself more of a conscious or for-purpose leader, maybe the spiritual is not really in your vernacular. So let's go a little bit further with some basics or foundational understanding. If you don't already know, everything is energy. And really, as I say and teach and have come to see as an expert, that every business that is founded is an extension of the founder's energy field or biofield, as science is now calling what the ancient mystical teachings used to say. So if the leader or founder is unclear, or they have discordant or dissonant energies, then this ripples out. This shapes the greater ecosystem and shapes the organizational vibe. So again, the business is an extension of you. So you will start and really birth through, as some say. And as the image on the screen will show you, this correlates to the way passion or flow or this flow psychology works. It's really the energy of what you're about to found or birth. If you're beginning on this journey, it comes through you and is birthed through you. So this notion of passion, if you're not really in the flow, if you're not really enjoying it, you're out of alignment, like a laser analogy, then everything, like a series of dominoes, is going to go awry. So you want to really take care after you slow down, do some of that inner work. You'll then want to make sure that you understand that if you start your business with a state of dissonance, scarcity, and so on and so forth, not in a harmonious state, then you will be off on the wrong foot, as they say. So you can really go as far back as a few decades. There's, for the sake of time, we won't get into it in this video, the role of energies in organizational cycles. Businesses, as we come to understand them, have life cycles, much like any organism will. So with that understanding of you as the birther, as the parent of this proverbial business baby, let's really get into the nuts and bolts of what we're here to talk about. How do I tune in? How do I really tap into what I'm here to do, what some call my soul's calling, your mission? I lack that vision. So starting at the very, very beginning, what is the journey? What does it look like? Well, as far as an overview, the main stages of the spiritual entrepreneur journey, whether it be as a visionary leader, for purpose, or conscious business owner, going step by step. If you're in alignment, it'll basically take the form of 5 phases, shall we say, on this more higher consciousness, higher vibe understanding of business cycles. So these 5 stages, starting with the first by way of overview and context, we start with the downloading phase. And by download, if you're new to that term, it's this notion of tapping in to this higher vibrational or higher consciousness, knowing our souls or higher selves or super consciousness knows already. And it's a matter of us accessing or attuning our inner antennas. So we have to really turn them on. There's inner mechanisms that we're going to talk about in a few moments and really give you the practical know-how to do that. And if you attune and recalibrate, you get what many call insight, innovation, inspiration, creativity, flow, as I said earlier. So if you can't tap into it, if you find yourself struggling along the way as we unpack this on this video in the second, you have to, again, be mindful that it may be because you're getting off to that wrong start. You may still have dross energy in your field. You may still have your antenna closed. Okay. And really, at the end of the day, we're not here to find something new. It's a matter of unmasking your calling, getting the blockages out of the way. And that's what we're going to talk about in this first video. And then the second video, we're going to really get into the later phases. So this first step, again, is the download phase, clearing and attuning your antenna. And each of us has the ability to do this and gain this inner insight. Then we go on to the second stage, conception. When we start to get this information, we start to unpack it, we get a flow of ideating, we start to allow and receive the downloads and insights, and then our conscious mind, shall we say, begins to unpack this data. And then we begin to define our vision. We start to see loosely, and I do mean loosely at first, much like a baby when it's starting to gestate. It may not look like what it starts to look like at the later stages. You may kind of go, what is that? And that really is the basis of the conception phase. You're really seeding your vision. You're really allowing your consciousness to start to unpack these techniques we're going to go through in a few moments in this video. And you're going to really allow these methods to do their work. And you'll slowly see during this gestation period, much like a baby, this business baby I keep referring to in this conception phase, you start to assemble these elements. And you start to begin to see loosely a formation of your mission, your vision, your passion. So it's all about having, by the first and second stages, this conception stage, as a leader, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, the capacity to hold the energy so you can really hold the seeds that you're downloading. So then what we do once we really get tuned in and we've done that conceiving and start assembling, you become more and more clear, and you become almost like a vehicle for the creation of birth through, as we've said. And you have to remember, and I can't emphasize this enough, that it takes an energetic gestation period, which is really the focus of much of the work I do with clients to make sure they get it done efficiently and optimally. A lot of the times I can joke, as this analogy keeps extending, that I'm an energy business baby doula. I'm helping you birth this through so you don't really have to struggle and take a long time to pivot and have the breakthroughs. And you can, again, find the resources and how I do this through one-on-ones and retreats in person and virtually to make these big breakthroughs happen in the links below. So moving on after this conception phase and you've really gestated and you're starting to see more clearly, we move to the later phases, or the third stage of this journey, to start to actualize, birthing through the foundation. You begin to start translating these esoterics, these energetics, these higher dimensional or super consciousness informations. You start to translate them, then it starts to take form. Oh, okay, this is my mission. Then you start to assemble. It's more defined, it's more refined and clear. And you're really birthing through the foundations of what the business will look like. The values, your purpose, etc., etc. And after the third stage, to wrap up this overview, the fourth and fifth stages, the third and fourth and fifth will really be covered in the second video. So the fourth stage, after you start to really put it together, assemble it, and actualize it, is the growing stage. This is where we really get to the more nuts and bolts, the more traditional, shall we say, somewhat, side of things. Really starting to nurture and expand this business baby and starting to assemble your infrastructure, both legal, financial, the systems, the processes, different ways to really approach this, which we'll talk about more in the second video, and making sure you have the infrastructure to develop what some call the minimum viable product or service offerings. A lot of that good stuff will be in the second video after we cover in this initial video, the dialing in, the downloading, the conception. Okay, and then lastly, the fifth stage is really when you start to live your legacy. The business has reached the more mature stages and you can eventually sell it, or it becomes a living legacy for the greater good. So let's really get down to 1 and 2 today, and then this initial video, the beginning stages, the downloading. So how do I tune into my soul's calling, Haas? You may have heard whispers of it, as some say. You may kind of have a semblance. There's different ways and things it's called in ancient times, the Vedic or Indian tradition, a dharma, your curriculum. And really, it's not about what is my calling as much as it is how do I live my calling. And getting open is what we're going to be talking about. How do I get open to receive these insights? How do I get open to dialing in and tuning in to what were whispers, so we can make those whispers louder and louder to get really clear and priming the consciousness to receive this higher dimensional information. This is very much rooted in science. I'm all about bringing it together both through the mystic arts and the spiritual sciences and the hard evidence-based sciences. Many call it coherent state, again, flow state, as I've said a few times, and it's deeper states of awareness. There's 3 ways that you can do this initial stage if you're getting started dialing in, downloading. And the basic way to do it is there's a video on my channel. I'll put the link below. It's whole brain synchronization, and it's 2 videos. One of them is how to optimize your brain, and the second is literally titled on this channel, how to download from the universe. So this is more about whole brain synchronization. The neuroscience of that is explained in the videos, and you can find it on the channel. And again, I'll, for convenience, embed the link below. So that's the basic way you can do it. The more intermediary way is to open and sync up your inner energetic systems. There are 3 energy systems in the sciences we're learning. We have the brain, we have the heart brain, and we also have the gut brain. The other names are the intuition and instinct. So there is a recording on these 3 centers and the techniques that you can do. This is a more intermediary step. If you would feel more comfortable, you can do that. You can find them exclusively on Inside Timer. It's called your 3 energy centers, and I explain how to open and sync these 3 centers, which again brings about coherence and flow states, deeper states of awareness and expanded consciousness, which allow you to ideate, download, and get that flow and inspiration going. I'll put the link again below. And as a gift to the audience and those of you that are really committed to this journey, the more advanced way is really to commune or invoke your higher self, tap into your super consciousness if you don't want to talk about the soul or the higher self, depending on your schemata or your perspective. So what do I mean by that? Well, really from a higher vantage point, you will be able to download the energetic blueprint of your business and what it will look like. And those are the elements that you kind of at first get that are fuzzy. So what I'm going to do as a gift is, if you stay tuned till the end of this video, I'm going to embed a exclusive gifted visualization, very brief, very practical, to tune you in to this more masterful or more advanced way of doing things, of attuning to and asking for your higher self, your soul, or your super consciousness. And it will be a more directed way of doing this. And if you allow it, it will be very powerful, very potent. And again, I'll provide the link exclusively. You'll have to stay till the end of the video, and then you'll see a video pop up, and that will be the video which is gifted. You can also find the link below next to the word gift. Okay, so again, you can do the whole brain synchronization, a more basic system, stepping that up. You can go to the opening and syncing your 3 energy centers. And then lastly, the more masterful way of attuning to your higher self with that gifted visualization to guide you. Even if you're a beginner, you can give it a good go. And I'm very confident you will gain a lot from it. So it's about really dialing in at deeper and deeper levels and higher levels. And it's tapping into those gifts, tuning into that soul's calling. And this is why everything really is about laying the groundwork and consciously accessing this information. So in addition to these methods, other ways you can consciously access this soul's calling and start to assemble these pieces. I'll give you a series of questions that you can journal on, meditate on, contemplate, reflective meditation, etc., whatever is your modus operandi. For instance, you can tap back into this question and start to journal or auto write and flow on this and see what comes forth to gain more insight, more clarity, more flow on what is this sweet spot, this zone of genius, this soul's calling that you're here to do. So you can ask yourself these following questions. What is my childhood dream? What is my childhood dream? What did I want to be when I was a child, when I grew up? Secondly, you can ask yourself, what are the top 4 things that I have a passion for? And you can literally write down, I have a passion for ... and see what 4 things come out for you. Then thirdly, you can write down, have you had any recent ahas the last few months? There's a lot of synchronicity at play, and you'll find that there's an algorithm, a greater hand at work, and it's not an accident that you're listening to this now. So you can feel into, were there any recent ahas you had or inspired ideas? Because oftentimes those are slivers or cracks in the channel to getting this information. You can also then go on to ask this 4th prompt. What do people come to me for? Or the 5th prompt. How do you spend your free time? Looking at how people come to you and what you're known for, it's a good way of objectively looking at, well, what is my sweet spot? What are my objective skills? What am I really designed to be here to do? What is my flow, my zone of genius, etc.? And how you spend your free time is always an indicator of your passion, your flow. And I invite you to, again, unify your calling and your 9 to 5 and really make your work your play. Then you can go on and ask this 6th question. What would wake you up in the morning? What would wake you up in the morning, or when you wake up in the morning, what really gets you going? And then lastly, write down your essence word list. In other words, words that describe your essence. It's almost like these prompts are meant to be free association, or what some call colloquially a brain dump. It really is important for you to get out of your element, get the fish out of the water, as they say, so you can really see from a fresh perspective. And at this stage, with these exercises, with these visualization that's gifted at the end of this video, if you still have blocks, then clearly it's an indicator that you need to do that inner work, that inner healing. You may have fears to accessing this stuff, inner resistance, and they're definitely indicators of more work to be done. So after you start to ideate, you roll up your sleeve, you go do these tools, experience them, you start waxing on and waxing off. Then you move to the conception phase. You start to seed your vision. And this is all about writing it down, bringing it into form, actualizing it. So, for instance, when you do the visualization, the gifted one, or if you do any of these exercises or prompts, you'll start to get data. You'll start to assemble and define various aspects of the mission, the vision, the calling, the values, the purpose, the passion, etc. And you start to cohesively bring these elements, these pieces together. You begin to mold the ball of clay. And this ball of clay starts to develop a pattern or a theme, such as those prompts. You'll start to see, wait a second, the more and more I reflect and allow this gestation, this unpacking, this unfolding, this processing, the more the childhood dream, the passion, the waking up in the morning, the downloads, my essence, etc., the more I start to see there's a pattern or a theme, or this ball of clay starts to take form. And again, it will be fuzzy, it may seem existential or esoteric at first. Like a fetus, as I said, the ahas may not be very vibrant at first. It will take time to refine and develop, unmasking the calling, reconnecting to these inner parts of you, having done that inner work. And that is really bringing the mission into its final form. Now, at this juncture, it's important, if you don't already know about this, this is not about thinking your calling into form, because you can run afoul of regurgitating and really copying or emulating. And for the sake of time, I'll say this. It's not about thinking your calling. It's about allowing. It's about allowing it to birth through. It's about using your other senses, losing your mind, finding your senses, as the founder of Gestalt therapy once said, Fritz Perls. So it's about using not our intellect, using our intuition, using our feeling, our instinct, using our extrasensory gifts, things that have been turned on or turned off, or dormant, using them and letting go of the intellect, and really tapping into allowing it to birth through us, as I've said. And really the conception stage is really that. If you think you're going to do a business, then that's fine. That's really the old way of doing things. And this may resonate for those listening. And if it doesn't, then that's okay as well. So at this stage of the conception, we really start to clarify our mission. Our soul's calling starts to become more vivid, more unique, more seeing of the vision, the vision, why, your why becomes clear, your what does your heaven on earth look like? This envisioning becomes more clear. What you're standing for, your values, things that will later form the culture of your business baby as it grows, starts to take form, your purpose, and really the pillars or tenets of these later principles that you're going to see will birth through. That's later in the video. Number 2, we'll talk more about the third phase of then the building, and we'll get into how this becomes the branding and market research, etc. So you can tune into the second video on that. And I'll leave you now with some book recommendations that I felt were seminal on my journey. The book Purple Cow, and you can see the authors on the screen, The Art of War, The Energy Myth Revisited, the E-Myth Revisited, and lastly, To Sell is Human. Really quickly, these 4 books, I would say, if you're starting this journey, these first 2 stages that we've covered through these techniques, through this wisdom, through this context, and this initial video. So make sure you do stay for the link for the tuning into your soul, calling your higher self visualization, this primer to get into this state. Reach out if I could be of support and you'd like to discuss how I could guide you further on this journey. You can find my email and the contact information below. Feel free to reach out so we can do a consult, see if there's synergy, if I am the right fit, if we're the right fit, in order for us to move forward to a formal session and what that would look like, etc., etc. So also, again, make sure you look out for the links in the comments below, the description below. And as always, I do appreciate you tuning in. And if you found this insightful and supportive, not only do I ask and invite you to subscribe to the channel, please feel free to share this with others in the service of getting this collective mission out there. Together we rise, as I say. It's all about bringing us together, and my mission is to equip world leaders wherever they're at on their entrepreneurial journey, on their ascension journey, on their healing journey, and really give them the tools and the wisdom. And I really do appreciate you stepping into your calling, your mission, and doing your part for the greater whole. Take care, and wishing you success and abundance. And make sure you tune in to the second video on this channel so you can find out the rest of these stages if you're still unfolding.